This summit to me is a great showcase of both Fresno State and the Transportation Institute, and the power of this region to convene people from around the world, literally, to talk about something that we all share, which is transportation. So often we think people won't come to Fresno, or we don't want to occupy a position on a larger stage, but we do, and we have the talent and the brain power and the wherewithal to do that. So the summit, I think, is a great testimony to all of those things. So having all of these folks from around the world, literally around the world, is wonderful. It's a showcase for us. So it's a great opportunity. I have been a huge proponent my whole career about the more we share together, the better off we all are. Years ago, I worked at Fresno State and I walked by a car in the parking lot and it had a bumper sticker on the car and it said, "The better we all do, the better we all do." And that has proven true for 35 years. So whether we bring regional players together like this, U.S. interest in transportation or world interest, we only get better by sharing. We don't have all the answers here by a long shot, nor does any other city. So I think it's a tremendous opportunity. Fresno State has so many smart assets, engineering, agriculture, water, lots of international appeal issues that would be great showcases for us. But around transportation specifically, it's a terrific opportunity to learn from each other. Because we're not going to make it to all the cities that are present here, but they've come here to share with what they do, so I think it's a great opportunity. I was a huge champion for the funding that started the Transportation Institute for a couple of reasons. One, it's great for the Valley. Two, it's great for Fresno State. And three, it develops a workforce and a group of future generation leaders in an area that you might not think about. Like, I want to grow up and do transportation. It's probably not on people's minds. But for me, transportation has always been more about, it's not about roads and potholes and cars, it's about people. So transportation is about getting people to where they need to be, when they need to be there, in a way that's accessible and affordable and available to them. So the Transportation Institute, I think, really planted the flag about we can be a region that brings all the people in our region together around transportation and advances the issue, raises the bar in our community. The work that they did around COVID, the research capabilities they have, the work they've done with kids, all great. And so I think it's a great model and has really elevated transportation as a discipline, which is good for all of us. Good for all of us. The Transportation Institute, in my mind, is sort of a combination of the best of what an academic institution has to offer, partnering with the community. So engineering and classes and research and all of that, yes. And the research on things like COVID that are super practical to communities as we were trying to figure that out around buses and all of that is important. But their ability to reach out to our schools and to teach kids about transportation, exercise in how do you plan a city, how do you imagine roads, rail competitions, the mobile van that goes out to schools is just a great way for kids all across our valley to imagine that this is actually a job. Because I'm betting most adults probably don't think that transportation is a job, but it's could be so many different things, but I think their impact across the valley, not just a Fresno State thing, but Fresno State is a regional institution, and we all are better when Fresno State does well. So the Transportation Institute, I think, has been just a classic example of that on campus and for the rest of us across the valley. The Transportation Institute got its initial funding from Measure C. And Measure C is the transportation sales tax that Fresno County has had in one form or another since the mid-'80s. The investment in the Transportation Institute is an example of what Measure C does beyond roads and potholes, all essential. But the seed money for that institute, is just, we're seeing the benefits today. So Measure C is up for renewal. We're going to give it another shot. What it's done for our region, more than generating revenue for cities, small and large, is it's demonstrated that our region does better when we work together on something we share. Imagine a world where cities tried to fund their own transportation one city at a time. What kind of regional network would you have? It would make no sense. And cities like Clovis, City of Fresno, have the wherewithal to probably do our own transportation infrastructure. Imagine smaller cities like Parlier and Mendota and Huron. they would have no capacity to generate any money to speak of for their communities. So it's a community investment, it's a county investment, and it's been really important, and to the Transportation Institute in particular. I think the only thing that I would say is I do think the Transportation Institute is just beginning. They've had a 5-year kind of startup, but I think what's possible is really exciting when you imagine their next generation or their next 5 years. What will that look like? I think their impact will just get greater and greater as time goes on, and I'm really excited to watch that and be a part of that and support that however we can, because like that bumper sticker said, we all do better when we all do better. And so the better the Transportation Institute does, the better our cities will do, our people will do, our economy will do. So it's really all connected.